Good evening, everyone, on this brisk fall evening. My name is Richard Waring, and I am the host of the PoemWorks reading series. And it is my delight to begin with a few quotes. John Brehm says, "I write poetry for many reasons: to get beyond what I think I know, to pay attention, to experience flow states of consciousness, to delight in the music and texture of language, to connect with something larger and more mysterious than myself, to remember my true nature. But mostly, I do it for the money." Yeah, right. This is very poignant and very specific to our endeavors tonight. Joyce Johnson wrote, "Artists are nourished more by each other than by fame or by the public. To give one's work to the world is an experience of peculiar emptiness. The work goes away from the artist into a void, like a message stuck into a bottle and flung into the sea." Well, I don't know about that last part, but I get behind that first part and how we poets like to gather and cross-fertilize and inspire one another. Lastly, Leonard Cohen used to say that a song or a poem would come to him when the emergency becomes articulate. And I've often thought about stopping in the emergency lane on the highway, and the police will come over. What's your problem? My emergency is I'm writing a poem right now. So if you just please let me be. But it also kind of points to how you sometimes have to wait. The poem has to wait until you become the person that is able to write it. So those are a few little tidbits to start us off. And now I want to introduce our featured poet for the evening, Holly Guran, who is the author of Twilight Chorus from Main Street Rag, River of Bones from Iris Press, and 2 chapbooks. She has received a Massachusetts Cultural Council Award and coordinates a popular Boston reading series. Now Before and Ever, Kelsey Books, is her recent collection, and she'll be putting a link to that, being able to purchase that in our chat. So look for that. Her work has appeared in journals including Poet Lore, Santa Fe Literary Review, and Salamander. Selections from her narrative poems, based on a 19th century correspondence between a mill girl and the editor she married, have been performed in Boston and at the Lowell National Historic Park. Please welcome Holly.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. And it's my great pleasure to be here with you all tonight and to see so many friends here tonight. I'm very grateful for you being here. And Richard, for kind of offering me this reading. This is my first reading since, except for the launch part, but since the book got published. So it just came out, and so this is very exciting for me. And I hadn't planned on this, but then I made a mistake of watching some of the news tonight. And so I said, I can't just plunge into this reading without kind of acknowledging a little bit about the world we're in right now. So I'm going to start with a poem from my previous collection, Twilight Chorus, and it's called Find the Children. Ease the children down, hungry and cold. Bring quilts to cover them. Bring hot broth. Spoon it into their small moon mouths. Be careful. Blow gently on each spoonful. Around the children are crumbled walls. Around the children are men holed up with weapons. Around the children are too many demons. If the children survive, The demons will ghost their dreams, gallop and crash through their nightmares. If the children survive, they will join those who destroy or find a way to bring solace. The moon rises over the place where they lie.
Mm.
And now I'm going to go into the poems from the book here. And my screen seems a little odd here. Let me just see. Can you see me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes.
That's good. We've been having a little trouble with a blurry picture here, but I think it's okay now. Okay, this book has a few different sections in it. And the first section is called Shape of a Garden. And I'm going to start with this, Shape of a Garden. Black caps of the last snow, battered to nearly nothing. I step in mud, sniff ferment, falls compost grown ripe. The poem is a teacher. Like earth, it sings mysteries into the skin. And another one from the first section. I am devoted to compost, and I have not been able to persuade all of my family members to convert them to this, but I try. I do try. So this poem is called Morning Ode to Compost. Coffee seizes me by the collar, lifts me to morning. Praise the aroma, praise the awake. One ear up, the dog waits to be fed. Praise her for staying seated, alert, before I place the bowl down. Empty the filter, toss the black grounds. They speckle the once white bucket, and praise the bucket for taking this in. Paper serviettes disintegrate in the moisture. They manage to keep food off my face, mostly off my dress. I praise them for neatness. Brown skins from bananas soften. Praise them for their sweetness that was, and the potassium I needed. Clementine peels add a pleasing orange. Praise them for keeping me in vitamin C all through the cold. And shells for pistachios pried open with fingernails, crunched in willing mouths. Praise them for taking their time to break down. Alas, the preserved lemons had to land here. The unconsumed once mold invaded their salty jar. Praise them for the tangine they flavored, which I meant to, but never made again. They console and will add to what nourishes our garden this spring.
Mm.
And the next one, I think I have at least two or three insomnia poems. Insomnia poems are great when you are up and you can't sleep and you start walking around. It's good to sit down and write a poem. It's a good idea. It helps. So this one is called Dark Edges, Shards of Light. Sweet elderberry liquor warms as it travels down, softens insomnia's edge. Why do these cracks pry open the sealed disappointments? Where is a way to escape? The God I know declares herself in morning light. She set two rabbits to chase one another across the yard. She sent robins, grackles, a yellow-throated vireo to splash in the bath. Remembering them almost reassures, but in the dark outside, a bevy of weeds multiplies, getting drier. When day arrives, I'll exhaust myself trying to remove them. Soon wind will scatter their million seeds in a diaphanous film of pollen. And they do keep growing, they do.
Mm.
Okay, here we go. On to another one. And this is the title poem of this section called Shape of a Garden. He needs to dig 3 holes for the new shrubs. She needs to triangulate the wide expanse. Each act of digging is an undertaking to depth. Each act is bound to create a sore back. They anticipate the circle becoming, they anticipate the pleasing colors, melon and wine. He wears a hat with a wide beige brim. He wears the stance of the skillful farmer his ancestor was. From the window, she watches fondly. She watches the piles of dirt form pyramids beside the holes. She wonders about the rectangle where their bodies will end. She doesn't know when it will come. They celebrate with the planting. They celebrate their time lying ahead. And that we moved here with this great big expanse of yard in the back, and we keep filling it up with plants, and it's fun. We like it, but it's work. Okay, next section is called Uninvited, and I'm going to start with one from that section, which is just kind of the opening one. Sunday morning. As if warm wind were sweeping it clean, the lot wakes under crows, pecking and earth floor, where last night people had been, stepping in and out, not noticing what sloughed off, not caring that the crows would come. Next poem is dedicated to the gorilla at Franklin Park Zoo.
Yes.
It's called Refusal. Please don't scowl so, although you have every reason. Here in the corridor of staring faces, please don't throw yourself against the glass. I long to sing to you through the thickness between us, through the defecating smells. My staring face wants to be forgiven. I try to send a neutral look. Your scowl becomes a leap, then a crash. The walls howl and tremble. My imagined song's no use. Rumbling to the cave alone, you turn your back. Yeah. It's quite a creature, that gorilla. He's quite a character, too. Okay. The next one is, okay, this one is in the shape, it goes like this kind of on the page. I don't know if you can't see, but.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's called Spun. Spun. I dread news about sick people, about the parts that failed, that thin and frail, stretching what held to a thread, the spider's thread, spun like gold. Rapunzel, let down your hair, let it flow from the high window onto the terracotta where a spider hides in its crevice, a rabbit's eating onion grass. Bold, not hiding, I would like not to hide, not to grow bitter, not to fall into the dark crevice, but to spin a strong thread, to tie the thread to the word that coheres a bracelet of charms. My mother kept charms for us daughters, and all our cousins had birth dates engraved on them. We played with those cousins, although they didn't live near. That did cohere. I wear the bracelet, hold its charm. Before more cousins are dead, the women at yoga got laughing, some silly pose. Struck by mistake, ripples of giggles spread. Then we signed the card for the woman in surgery. And yeah, one more from this section. It's called Esperance, which is, of course, hope, but it's the name of a town in upstate New York. Esperance. The hills fold, a gray wind descends. The road continues hypnotic. Snake we have to follow. Our bones ache, our eyes grow weary. Small towns offer a respite. Casanova, Skinny Atlas, Esperance. Their lakes paddle in the breeze. They adopt us briefly. Reflected in shop windows, we appear, aging companions taking a stroll. Our fantasy to belong here, near the brick storefronts that bear old family names, and not asking how long before this town shrinks to a numbing blandness. The highway's white line beckons a horizon hidden in the future, in the next town, and the one after that.
Hmm.
The next section is called Familial, and as you might guess, it's got some family stuff in it.
Mhm.
And I'm going to start with the title poem, Familial. Out on the water, a pontoon drifts, carrying a couple of women. You drift and land as though on a small outcrop of island, then slip into the confusion of what it is you must create. Didn't the family of Canada geese swim by? You rushed for a photo to show you were here, near them. Some clusters work well, but others fray and stumble, their human failings like fishhooks on lace. What to do when your old body announces its limits and the new life you long for seems almost graspable, but faint, when your solutions hold the suspicious flavor of a too sweet icing. The brain insists on reason, in spite of the lapping waves, in spite of the pungent pleasure. Lake water, pines. This was written when we were at a lake in Maine, where we love to go. It's a beautiful lake. Not too much activity, which makes it very quiet and nice. The next poem is written, dedicated to a friend, a close friend who died, Susan Phillips, who died a few years ago. And it's called Old Friends. Behind the house, oak and maple tower like primal creatures. If they walked, the earth would shake, but they hold a patience rooted beside each other. Their leaves susurrate in muffled whispers. Let's keep rising high above the peaked roofs, watching the gardeners, the small child opening a playhouse door. Soon their leaves will fly and cluster. Breaking them, I'll stop to wonder. My husband has a cousin in Michigan, and they love to talk on the phone, and it's fun to overhear these conversations sometimes. And this is kind of my spying on them a little bit, conversing. He talks with cousin Jim from the farm. Remember, remember how Uncle Raoul told us he rode in the cavalry, World War II. Oh, by the way, there really was cavalry in World War II. I had to look that up.
Oh, wow.
Their Midwestern syllables enclosed chuckles, a rhythm. We liked how he smelled of cigars. He shocked us, leaping off the table, landed with a thump, curling on the floor, showed us how it was done. Two eager boys. That time we played with matches, lighting little grass fires in the yard, and the wind spread them until the sirens came. I think you stuck around. I fled to the barn. They go on chatting, away from their bodies' silent pains, into memory's shared stage. So moving along, I have one now, another family one. This was written about my son, and it starts out in Eugene, Oregon, and then it moves to Boston. Signs. What I remember is the shadow that joined our house with a neighbor's, sunless sluice funneling incessant rain, the place where a cat leapt from the high roof, missing the pine. My young son found him. By then the pet had flattened like a Chinese coin. Too soon, this son discovered another creature, a duck, dropped on the rear patch of yard, tossed by neighbors who had immolated cars. He became enclosed in a howling. I can't catch my breath. So much death, like chunks of penny sky, suddenly fallen. I called the hospital. It's only panic, the psychiatrist explained. No need to bring him. Now inside memory's nightmare clang. Years of footsteps trudge overhead, well past midnight. So much taken apart remains in pieces. I think of a trapped tiger screaming in the rain, red neon coursing through great veins. Though my bare feet love the smooth oak floor in a kitchen where he constructed order, the cherry rectangle of trim, sculpted to fill an empty space, the oversized bullseyes placed perfectly at the window's corners. I want the clang to soften, and it will, somehow. Oh, for the off-key chimes when Buddha's prayer wheels turn, one, then another, another. Between whole notes, their watery half-tones offer somewhere to go, a way to surrender.
Mm.
And we're getting into, I think I'm getting into the Faces of Angels section here. And yes, I am. That's the last section of the book. And this one, okay, we went to it was supposed to be like a museum or something, but anyway, in Florida, and this is called Python Show.
Mm.
The guide instructs us on weights and lengths. These snakes can reach 30 feet. Stay away from her head. Don't tap on it. Oh, the lovely skin. We are obedient here in this, his place of worship. She's reluctant, lost in sleep. He lifts her, touches her like a lover, pulls her slowly. She hangs over his lap, extends past the end of the bench. We wives rise, move closer, stroke her smooth diadems. Behind us, waiting patiently, the husbands snap photos. Okay, now there's going to be two more. This is the two-poem warning, right?
Excellent.
The two-poem warning. Okay. Fallen asleep. On the rough sidewalk, a brown paper bag tossed to the curb, tucked inside the bottle. Its lips release a moan for the one who abandoned it. I keep walking while sleet sends down its blanket. After the sermon on miracles, I'm ready to cross the icy street. A slender young man in clothes too thin for the cold offers me his hand. He holds mine with a touch so slight, I'm thinking he's afraid I'll break. God bless. We nod and speak, parting on the other side. A sheet of silver spills down a lawn, its sheen repeating above and on the trees, each limb, the branches, every twig, are angels. And then the last one is a short one. Throughway. Time pulls the miles beneath our tires. In the lanes, someone passes in front, someone falls behind. The rest stops arrive, weekends in our long drive. We call ahead, then resume the race to where love waits and the dirt road bends. Thank you. Okay.
For reading. Thank you so much, Holly. Very
My pleasure.
observations and One phrase that really stood out to me, I don't know if I got this double meaning because it's Halloween, but in the garden poem, you talk about digging is an undertaking. And I didn't know if you meant the undertaker part of it or not.
I
And
think that was accidental, but I'm glad you noticed it.
yeah. And then the gorilla poem, was that the gorilla that escaped from Franklin Park?
I don't think so. Not to my knowledge. I mean, this was quite a while ago, but yeah, I don't think it was.
I
But
remember that
there
that
was one.
gorilla wound up at a bus stop and somebody thought it was a person dressed in a gorilla outfit. And they realized it was actually a gorilla. So that was interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And the horses in World War II, I think they didn't fare very well. They were kind of, something from the First World War that didn't
yeah.
translate well to the Second World War. But very, very interesting reading. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And
So now we're going to turn our attention to other people in the room. And I'm going to start with Margot Wizansky.
Lovely reading, Holly. Really liked your poem. This is 2 poems, right, Richard?
Yes,
Or 2 pages, whichever comes first.
that's right.
I could stand still, looking forever. If not for the lust of Caravaggio, there would be no crown of grapes and vine leaves, no Bacchus flushed, heavy-lidded eyes, looking a little uneasy. If not for the brush of Turner, inarticulate in every other way of speaking, there would be no fog in Sussex, no scumbled storm at sea. If not for the madness of Van Gogh, there would be no night stars spinning in wild circles. If not for Picasso's penchant for women with handsome dark features, there would be no perfect asymmetrical portraits of all his muses. If not for Monet's breaking the ancient rules, there would be no haystacks bathed in every hour of light, no water lilies floating the walls of Musée l'Orangerie in Paris. If not for my paintbrush, after I'd been comatose, the evidence in that vase of dahlias, twisting tupelos, clouds, cows, a storm impending, I wouldn't have known I was still alive.
Mm. Beautiful.
Blackberrying. This is a duplex, which probably most of you know was a poetic form invented by Jericho Brown. Blackberrying after Sylvia Plath. The bushes are laden, draw my blood with their thorns. To find sweetness, or at least some nourishment, find sweetness before wasps get the droops. Don leather gloves, get ready for a struggle. Struggle to be delicate, soften your clumsy touch on that honey feast, fat with blue-red juices. The honey of it dripping with blue-red juices. Plump and dumb on the banks of the brook, I cling to my footing on the slippery banks. Are the tenderest ones the hardest to hold? Tender ones tease me, too fragile to hold. It's a chore, their thorniness, easily bruised. As I pick through the thorns, I'm easily bruised. Poems are blackberries. I give them my blood.
Hmm. Can you explain a little bit more this notion of the duplex?
Well, it's the second line is repeated in some form as the third line, and the fourth line is repeated in some form as the fifth, all the way through to the last line where the first line is repeated in some form.
Wow.
I mean, I changed up the form a lot. Sometimes they're the same, but
Definite braiding together of these lines in
Yeah.
a very different way than the pantoum
oh yeah, it is.
thing. Thank you so much.
Oh.
And now please welcome Steve Nickman.
Thanks, Richard. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Okay. Holly, what wonderful work. I didn't know your work, but I'm really glad to know it.
Thank you.
Wait, just to unmute myself. And Richard, I loved what you said about the poem has to wait until you become the person who's able to write it, because it applies to these poems. I've just begun writing poems about what it's like to do therapy with children and teenagers. And it's been a couple of years since I saw any children or teenagers. All my people have gotten older. The first one is playing checkers with a fourth grade boy. With the red and black board between us, he says, "My father always beats me at checkers." We start the game. The first moves are safe. Then you're jumping, being jumped, taking chances. It needs courage. How much can anyone afford to lose? He's about to make a risky move. I take a deep breath. He thinks again, chooses differently. Now I could do a double jump. Pause to adjust my glasses. He asks, "Can I do that last move over?" I go slowly to let him find his skill. I tell him, "Look, you have a king. He can capture forward and backward too. They're like giants, go where they want. Take whatever is in their path." He tries it, seizes 3 of my pieces. I never was a king before. Second one, teenage boy with puzzle. The 7 unlike pieces must fit together to make a cube, wood of different shades, pleasant to the touch. You solved it instantly, tested me each time we met, mocked me when I was slow. Our ritual. Your mockery became my puzzle. You did it with everyone. Your school sent you to wilderness for a year. Returning from exile, you'd left behind your sarcasm. Let yourself feel your father's absence from your birth onward. You wrote to him, and back came a blistering, "You were a mistake." Surpassing mockery, meant to erase you. You'd looked into the abyss, it had looked back, spiteful and impotent. The puzzle understood. You learned to tend bar with all your wit about you.
Thank you, Steve. Wonderful. Up next, we have Ruby Poltorak.
Okay, can folks hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm actually going to put up a background for a little atmosphere. There we go. Um, and this is a 2-page, one poem. Death penalty for delivery. Dangerous, the poet is shot or tortured first. We know this. For satirizing the Iraqi regime in 2008 with a veiled poem, Hamid al-Maliki is killed. 1973, Victor Jara, musician, wrist broken with an axe in Estadio, Chile. Bullet-pierced body thrown out into the shantytown street. Beaten face, hip a gaping hole. Presente. 1972, Hossein Kanafani, Beirut, assassinated by the Mossad. Hun, present. Wael Zawatir, 1972, assassinated by the Israeli Mossad in Beirut, no, in Rome. Hun, here. 1954, the night of the murdered Yiddish poets in Stalin's empire, executed in one night. Merely Yiddish was subversive. Peretz Markish, here, da. David Hofstein, da. Itzik Pfeffer, da. Leib Kvitko, da. David Begelson, da. Solomon Lasovsky, da. Boris Shemelovich, da. Benjamin Zuskin, da. Joseph Yusevovich, da. Leon Talmy, da. Ilya Vattenberg, here, da. Heike Vattenberg Ostrovskaya, da. Emilia Temkin, da. Solomon Bregman, da. Mir seinen da. We are here. 1936, Federico Garcia Lorca, Granada, Spain, who chose not to escape. Presente. 1915, Red Sunday, 250 Armenian poets and intellectuals rounded up. That was the start. Ruben Sevak, Aistach, here. Dikran Shakorian, Aistach. Diran Kalakian, Aistag. Klaginsky, Aistag. Erochan, Aistag. Kriko Zohrab, Aistag. Daniel Varugian, Aistach. Rupen Zartarian, Aistach. Ardash Hartunian, Aistach. Ciamento, Aistach, here. 75 CE, Jerusalem. Dirge for the temple's fall. City streets flooding with the blood of musicians and poets. Hinenu, we are here. Oh, holy sisters and brothers, we sing through your blood.
Thank you, Ruby. Wow, very powerful. You know, if you want to rewrite history, make sure to get rid of the storytellers. Being a poet can be a dangerous occupation.
Yep. Thank you.
Up next, Jennifer Markell.
It's Markell, just FYI.
Okay.
So I just changed my choice at the last minute after Steve read his poems about therapy with kids, because I used to play therapy with kids myself. I'm a therapist and mostly with adults now, strictly with adults now. But This poem is called Play Therapy. What became of the boy who drew smokestacks in my office, tornadoes bearing down? The girl who painted fruit trees, pendulous pears, overripe apples bursting with seeds? And where is the dollhouse I left behind? Miniature cataclysms played out upstairs, the grandmother who slept through the baby's cries, the drunken uncle who jumped from the roof and rose again. They arrived in the tow of desperate parents, legal guardians, judges' orders. They pulled out their eyelashes, punched their little fists through windows. Did Andrew keep marching his soldiers through barricades he built and then blew up, duck and cover? When the army recruiters finally came with promises he could believe, did he sign? And what of Amanda, her self-inflicted wounds, her voice seeking an echo in every room? What happened after they found her schizophrenic mother naked on the lawn, serving tea to the apostles? Are they out there somewhere, aboard the commuter rail, in line at the post office, tapping their feet, or at the corner store, picking up a quart of milk? Sometimes I think I see them, like, oh, could this be that child like 20 years later? And the second poem, because the news is just so the news and so dominant right now, I chose a poem called After Reading the News. Fall down, play dead, memories shed, rise up, data, jigsaw. You've gone off walking in the woods. I'm settled into the cushions with a book. Out the window, flash of fox, wayward comet, furious missile spelling the end of days. Fire ravening the forest. We have to go, I say, but there is no we. The fire is coming below, above, every direction. For days, our breath held hostage. Dust motes swirled, refused rest. We gorged on crumb cake, frangelico. Half-empty bottle exhumed from the pantry with emergency condensed milk. The blue-eyed collie gave comfort, rooted at the table as if nothing had changed, listening with one ear cocked to the ticking clock, watching the confused hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. The emergency condensed milk. Yes, I have that as well. Up next, we've got Bette Steinmuller.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say that I used to live in Boston and I went to Cambridge about 10 days ago. I'm going to read one poem. It's called The Mayors. The mayor of Cambridge is vacuuming. She owns the 3rd floor. The noise wakes me up on the 2nd. The mayor of Cambridge is cleaning her bathroom. She parks on the street. The mayor of Cambridge went to public schools, Brown and Northeastern universities. She became a lawyer. The mayor of Cambridge forgot her key, so we let her in. The mayor of Cambridge became a public interest attorney, Google says, quote, advocating for those living in poverty or marginalized populations, unquote. The mayor of Cambridge was first elected in 2018. She stands for affordable housing, tenant advocacy, and more. The mayor of Cambridge is running for re-election. The mayor of Cambridge says she wants to, quote, continue policies that change lives, foster a resilient community for all, create more affordable housing, address the climate crisis. Cambridge is a progressive city. The people of Cambridge say LGBTQ and diversity with pride. Children in school can say gay. Voters don't identify as Republican or Democrat. Sumbul Siddiqui is the mayor of Cambridge. She's of Muslim heritage. Massachusetts is a diverse state. Maura Healey is the openly lesbian Democratic governor. St. Petersburg, Florida is a fairly progressive city where I, a Massachusetts transplant, live and vote. The mayor of St. Petersburg grew up in the poor gas plant area. He pursued baseball. The mayor of St. Petersburg is a Democrat. He went to public schools, South Florida and A&M universities. The mayor of St. Petersburg was an accountant and a county commissioner. The mayor of St. Petersburg advocates for progressive initiatives. He went to the opening of the World Shuffleboard Championship last week. The mayor of St. Petersburg just approved millions to renovate the gas plant area where the Tampa Bay Rays will build a $1 billion stadium. Affordable housing is included in the package. The mayor of St. Petersburg wants to please everyone. He tells us, remain vigilant, keep your homes, places of business, and communities safe. The mayor of St. Petersburg, yes, went to the opening of the World Shuffleboard Championship last week. The mayor of St. Petersburg is of African American heritage. His name is Ken Welch. Florida used to be blue. St. Petersburg is fighting to stay blue. The Republican governor of Florida is evil Ron DeSantis. DeSantis did away with all the progressive initiatives the mayor of St. Petersburg had approved. Will Mayor Ken Welch be reelected?
Thank you very much. Fruit for thought on this month of elections. Up next, Kathy Whitham.
Okay, I think I am unmuted.
Yes, you are.
Very lovely reading to start the evening. Okay, so I've got two not too long poems. As Monday cannot feel Tuesday. The summer light last evening, as I lay in bed, cross-faded into the light through the wooden side rails of my crib. It reminds me of the hidden truths I carry with the infinity of a mirror held to a mirror. The scent of hostas and quiet, like a soft ocean breeze skimming along the sand, can rupture like the unexpected betrayal of a burst appendix. As Monday cannot feel Tuesday, Tuesday not yet woven from the strands of matted clouds. Now this one is because it got so cold that I thought it might heat us up a bit. It's called I Drink You Slowly. I drink you bold and dark, sliding over my tongue, dripping pleasure, spilling down easy. You tease me to slow down, so I swallow one sip at a time, though you call for more. I hold back my urge to gulp with the urgency of a hungry baby. Take my time with you instead, the feel of you in my hands, the warmth, the fit, letting you swirl down hot.
Thank you, Kathy. Up next, Connemara Wadsworth. You've got to unmute yourself.
Muted.
There you go.
So I just wanted to thank Holly for her sharing her poems with us. There were a lot of nice images in them that both felt familiar and felt new. First poem I'm going to read is a relatively short one. And it's an old poem, but it's timely. It's about an old war. War zone, Rwanda. In a field of bodies, a toddler sits, his hand on his mother's head, the other on her shoulder. Tears river his cheeks, cling as he does to her. He calls her to wake, to feed, hold him. There, eclipsed in the rubble of life's breaking. Bulldozers will shovel the emptied bodies into a mass grave to lie nameless as when they were all mere seeds. Just the pictures of all the children are sad, really sad. And this poem is about the loss of my husband. Our bed after you died. I thought about sleeping on the other side, where I slept those first nights, then weeks of our just kindled heat that turned into months and years. And as walking became difficult for you, we traded sides. In this time when your body is gone somewhere I can't fathom, and how I long to touch you or hear you laugh over something silly I've said, how we'd fall into each other with the sudden sweet urgency of our desire to wrap ourselves together, fall into our bed, give ourselves to each other till our love dance is spent. When the house was empty of you, I might have slept in another room, as if I needed a way to stay close to you, as if to keep something of you near, your scent, your shadow pressed into the mattress. I stayed where we slept. Will it not matter? It will always matter.
Wow. Thank you, Connemara.
Thank you for listening.
Our penultimate poet, Pamela Gemme. And I can't seem to, since you're on the phone, I can't seem to.
I can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So the election is on my mind, so I'm going to read a poem about when I ran for office. During the campaign, her opponent assaults her. Cafe Reyes, Worcester, Massachusetts, celebrating criminal justice reform, June 18th, 2018. His face looks like a beak. He wins the race if he can scare her. Peck her, peck her, peck her. At the celebration fundraiser in a room full of politics tickers, peck her, peck her, peck her. Runs his fingers through her hair. His fingers fitter the nape of her neck. Peck her, peck her, peck her. Stop, she demands, with her hand up like some traffic cop. Stop her, peck her, peck her, peck her. The crowd is a ripe grape. She doesn't hear anyone say, defend her. Peck her, peck her, peck her. She hears nimble hurts low from a dog whistler. Pecker, pecker, pecker. And that man is still in the state house.
Wouldn't you know?
You have another one?
Yeah, okay. Suffrage. I will lose the election the last 2 official days of summer. The Tuesday after Labor Day, I'll go to the polls like a Wainwright hones a dung cart from soft wood. In the booth, I'll wish there was another choice. I'll check my name off. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. Well, I'll close this out and I'll read the title poem of a new manuscript of mine that I'm trying to get published. And the book begins with a quote from Sharon Olds.
Mm.
I am paying attention to small beauties, whatever I have, as if it were our duty to find things to love, to bind ourselves to this world. Small beauties. The pebble David picks from his shepherd field to bring down Goliath. The adulterer's rock, the one not thrown. Boulder rolled from the tomb when the women come with spices and oil and are answered by those in clothes that gleam like lightning. My kidney, the staghorn stone of sharpest discomfort. Weighing down Virginia Woolf's overcoat pockets as she walks into the river Ouse.
Mm.
Soup and the generosity that follows. When I lose my way, cairns. Childhood collection I can't put at the curb because no one would love them as much as I do. Silent companions known my whole life that will rest atop my grave.
Hmm.
And then another manuscript. I mean, I've got to retire so I can get these things out. And I will be by the end of the year. This is another collection called All That Remains. And I've got a quote from William Stafford, well-known conscientious objector. On a battlefield, the flies don't care who wins. And this seems to be a war that we're still fighting. It's called Whitman Tending the Wounded. I rest my eyes on theirs, take dictation from those fresh from the ambulance carts in these makeshift tents. They look away from their bloody stumps, the clotted rags, blue or gray, in waste pails by their cots. My only enemy is their suffering. I send word home to parents, brothers, and wives. The boy who lost his left arm begs me for horehound candy. Another asks, can you get me some rice pudding? I show disgust for the pious tracts that lecture the legless on the evils of dancing. I teach them to dance in their heads. I take comfort when a fever breaks, a face brightens, and breath eases. I mop their brows of sweat and stink, touch bodies only just blooming to kiss a dying cheek. I pray with them, think of the wing of a sparrow, tuck a letter into this boy's mother, into this envelope, and the boy into his sheet. Beneath the pennants of war, my perforated soldier sleeps. Well,
Penance of war. Wow.
yeah. We're thinking about that a lot, aren't we? What
Such
divides
vivid
us?
images, such vivid images.
It's a shame we don't have a Department of Peace. All we have is a Department of War. And if music were to make us do things, we'd all be living in love, because so many songs are about love. But no, that is not the case. So let's give a round of applause for all our poets tonight, and especially Holly. And does anyone have any comments to make? Ruby?
Yeah, the poems have been so moving, powerful, gorgeous, the whole range, and some of them all of that at once. Really thanks. And thank you, Holly. They're so lovely and such a pleasure to listen to, and funny and strong and all of that. Thank you. And thank you, Rich. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
mention that,
I would also like to really say how much I enjoyed the open mic, and what wonderful poems were in the open mic. And Richard, the way you frame everything it makes it really meaningful. You start with these insights and then you end with some poems, and it's just really a good reading. It's really wonderful to be here. I'm very honored.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
thank
I'd
you.
like to thank you, Holly, too, for inviting us. And some of us have known each other for 40 years.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
We have indeed,
We're here
Betty.
tonight. So
Yes, we
thank
have.
you. I feel honored to be part of this and be from Florida and
Yeah.
reading. Thank you.
And Richard, thank you for putting all of this together over and over and over.
Yeah.
On that note, I want to mention that next month, Margot Wizansky and Vivian Eyre will be reading
Ooh, cool.
Good.
open mic. And email me if you're not on my list.
Yeah.
I can give you the links for that. Well, thank you all so much. It's been a joy to come together like this and to share thoughts and tender feelings. And it's a kind of barrier against a lot of other things, unfortunately, going on in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.